nationalist ideology of Hindutva. You know secularism is dying in this country जब आपके मुंह में है राम पर आपके दिल में है नथु राम. You know secularism is dying in this country when Jai Shri Ram from a warm greeting becomes a lynching war cry. You know secularism is dying in India when a justice of Calcutta High Court cannot differentiate between the apostle of Hindu-Muslim unity, Mahatma Gandhi, and a cold-blooded murderer, Nathuram Godse. You know secularism is dying in this country when a Tablighi gathering is termed as terrorists spreading corona during lockdown, whereas the Kumbh Mela gets a go-ahead. You know secularism is dying in this country when a law which is unconstitutional, undemocratic, like CAA, is implemented on the country, where religion chooses or religion decides whether you are a citizen of this country or a refugee. How can religion be a fundamental definition of identity in this country? You know secularism is dying when the ruling government practices theocracy and not secularism. You know secularism is dying in this country when BJP, because of their brute majority, practices majoritarianism. What I mean by that is one temple, one God, one food, one religion, one nation, one election, one language, one party, and one leader. And when majoritarianism triumphs, secularism dies, and with that dies the ethos of India. These moments like this, it remembers me. I remember the last two lines of Rahul Tindori Sahab. सभी का खून है शामिल यहाँ की मिट्टी में, हिंदुस्तान किसी के बाप की थोड़ी है. And I'll just finish off by saying, there is one politician in this country, Mamata Banerjee, who's the definition of secularism. She celebrates Durga Puja, she celebrates Eid, she celebrates Buddha Purnima, she celebrates Guru Nanak Jayanti. And I hope and pray for the sake of our future generations that what Bengal thinks today, India will think tomorrow. Thank you very much.
It's good to debate, and it's good also to score some political brownie points with your boss. So Riju Datta, well done for that. Thank you very much. Our first debater, who argues that secularism is dying because religion determines whether or not you can be a citizen of this country. I want to call upon now our first speaker speaking against this motion to talk about why secularism is not dying, and the team speaking against the motion has chosen, interestingly, Shehla Rashid to come and tell us why secularism is not dying. Shehzad says this is Nari Shakti. I see some strategic mind games at play as well. So it gets interesting. Shehla Rashid, who once epitomized what was wrong with this government and spoke out very strongly, please explain why you think secularism is not dying in India. Your time, Shehla, starts now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Secularism in India has never meant dharm nirpekshta. Our constitution, for example, provides that minority institutions can receive state grants. We are not secular in the sense that the West is, or God forbid, China is. Indian secularism was always about Sarva Dharm Sambhav. And when the new parliament building was inaugurated, ceremonial prayers of all faiths were held there, including Islam. So I ask, if the Prime Minister of my country, why should he have to be ashamed of being a Hindu? If I am proud to be a Muslim, why can't Prime Minister Modi be a proud Hindu, I ask you? Secularism means treating everyone on merit. A Muslim cricketer recently got the Arjun Award. A Muslim educationist got the Padma Shri. A Muslim lady is in charge of space programs such as Aditya and Chandrayaan. That is secularism. Secularism means that the state does not discriminate against anyone. Nobody is turned away from a common service center on account of their faith. Secularism means that we need to think beyond our communities, and I as a Muslim, you as a Hindu, you need to think about what will take our nation forward. That is secularism. When we uplift ourselves, we uplift our communities and we uplift our nation. Many people accuse past governments of appeasement. Now, I would like to disagree with this view because at the peak of the so-called golden era of secularism, we had the Sachar Committee report saying that Muslims are doing worse than SC and ST communities. This is now being rectified through schemes such as PM Awas Yojana, PM Mudra Yojana, PM Kisan Samman Nidhi Yojana, which are benefiting Muslims largely. At the height of the so-called golden age of secularism, if some of you remember, We used to have terror blasts. We used to have incarceration of Muslim youth. We used to have POTA, TADA, UAPA. Now look at the last 10 years. There is peace in Kashmir. There is peace outside Kashmir. Terrorist incidents have reduced. There is fear of law. There is rule of law. And who does that benefit? That definitely benefits the minorities. In Kashmir, in the last 4 or 5 years, lives are being saved. Who are these people whose lives are being saved? They are Muslim. So is the government not saving lives of Muslims by taking a strong stance against terror, by ensuring that there is fear of law, by ensuring that there is rule of law? Yes, it is. So I ask you, when we say that the secularism is dying, let's take a moment to recall what the golden age of the secularism looked like. Thank you very much.
Okay, can we have a round of applause for Shehla Rashid for arguing why she thinks secularism is not dying in India? Very nice. Good to see camaraderie, teamsmanship. Now for our next speaker, have you decided who speaks first? Because you seem to be deciding on the fly, but that's fine too. Pehle aap going on. Can we have a round of applause for Shama Mohamed to come and speak about why she thinks secularism is dying in India? And this is a very quiet audience. Please feel free to show your love, affection, brickbats, do whatever. Just don't throw anything at us. You got some food on your table, okay? Don't throw anything. Apart from that, you can make as much noise as you want when you hear something you like or hear something you don't like. Shama Mohamed, tell us, why is secularism dying in India? Your time starts now.
In 1961, Jawaharlal Nehru said, we talk about a secular state in India. In Hindi, perhaps we cannot find a word for secular. Some people think it means something opposed to religion. That is obviously not correct. What it means is that a state which honors all religions equally and gives them equal opportunities. Nehru's secularism never mixed religion with politics or elections. He sought to prevent Indian politicians from exploiting religion for political gains and sanctioned those who promoted religious polarization. Although it has been unevenly enforced, Section 123 of the Representation of People's Act 1951, the law that guides the conduct of elections in India, forbids politicians from campaigning on religious themes. Fast forward to today, what do we see? The present Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, invokes religion at every possible opportunity. Not an election speech goes by where he's not talking about mandir or talking about gods. The most dangerous thing is the ecosystem created by the present dispensation. Now, what do I mean by the ecosystem? Let me give you an example. In 2019, Pragya Thakur, inside the parliament, said, God se desh bhakta hai aur rahega. He is a terrorist, God say for us. And what did the Prime Minister do? He said, main kabhi maaf nahi karunga. But then, what did he do? Nothing. She continued as a member of parliament. What do the people of India think? This is a norm. It doesn't matter. That is the ecosystem. When Bilkis Banu's rapists were released, C.K. Rolji, a BJP MLA, who was part of the state government and panel that recommends their remission to all the 11 men found guilty, said some of the convicts in the Gujarat 2002 riots are Brahmins with secular sanskar and values. They may be fixed due to their past family activities. Did the Prime Minister of India condemn it? No, he did not. So what happens to the ecosystem? What happens to the Janta? They think this is the norm. BJP leaders like Kapil Mishra says, Goli maro salo ko. Who is the salo? The Muslim minority. Did the Prime Minister of India condemn it? Say something about it? No. Then what happens to the Janta? They think, ye to norm hai. Sahi bola hoga. Hate speech is not fringe anymore. It is the norm. In 2023, India documented 668 hate speeches that targeted Muslims. In the 2022 report on international religious freedom highlighted continued targeted attacks on religious minorities, including Christians, Muslims, Sikhs, Dalits, and indigenous communities. Narendra Modi says, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. But he also says, those indulging in arson can be recognized by their clothes. हमें उसे कपड़े से पहचानते हैं. उसका मतलब क्या है? उसका मतलब क्या है? 86% of the people
Shama,
killed.
I know you've got
Last-
lots of
okay, the
pages.
last
No, but
point.
there's
Let
no
me just
time.
smile you.
You can't speak anymore. It's
Just
fine.
one last
I'm
thing.
sorry,
I just want to
actually,
say,
that's why your time ends.
India is not
You
at
could end up
crossroads today.
getting
It is
negative
at the
marks
brink.
for your team,
The
Shama.
2024
There is no
Lok
time
Sabha
left.
elections will
There
determine
is-
whether India remains a
problem-
secular democracy or
The
an
problem
autocratic
is,
one-party.
this is not a television show, so you can't browbeat or bully the anchor, unfortunately. Fortunately for me, actually. But your time's up. Shama, thank you very much. That was Shama Mohamed speaking and trying to explain why secularism is dying. She had so many pages written out. I got a little concerned that, oh my God, what's going to happen to the rest? But then the buzzer goes off, so that's the amount of time that you have. So thank you, Shama, for that. Calling upon next speaker to speak about why Shehzad Poonawalla is being very charitable and chivalrous. Pehle aap. Oh, you've decided. Teamsmanship spirit here. Okay, Shehzad's taking charge and showing teamsmanship. Okay, Hindol Sengupta comes up next to explain why secularism is not dying in India. Hindol, are you set? Your time starts now.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. If truly secularism was dead in India, would we be having a debate in a five-star hotel about secularism? Do note, ladies and gentlemen, that if secularism was truly dead, would I be the only Hindu member of a team with two other Muslim members defending the fact that secularism is not dead? I put to you this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, I put to you that my colleagues, debaters, are so fascinated at scoring points about their, or for and against their political masters, that they've forgotten that the real topic of today's debate is secularism dead in India? What India are we talking about, ladies and gentlemen? Is it the same India that one of my debaters mentioned that his party head had to take a rally out when the Ram temple was built? Well, I would argue that she could take a rally out against the Ram temple in India proves that secularism is not dead, ladies and gentlemen. It is exactly the reverse. It is exactly the reverse, I put to you. I want to say to my colleague, you come from the same city which organizes one of the biggest Christmas festivals in the world in Park Street, where I spent my childhood, and you still argue secularism is dead? That's not fair, ladies and gentlemen. I put to you that when you look at a debating topic like this, you must think as an Indian, not as a party person. And what is this India? It is the same India where only 6 years ago, ladies and gentlemen, Asia's biggest church was built in the same India in Nagaland. It is the same India where for the first time a woman parliamentarian from India who's not Muslim can go to Medina and have many Muslim commentators around the world, including Hassan Surur, say that this is an epochal moment in the history of Islam. It's the same India. Secularism is not dead. Quite on the contrary, India is showing what secularism truly is. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of people spoke about Ayodhya. It's interesting, is it not, about the Ram temple, that one of the main Muslim litigants on the Ram temple issue finally accepted that double the amount of land was actually given to the Muslim side to build a mosque compared to what was given to the Hindus to build a temple. And therefore, Iqbal Ansari showered rose petals on the Prime Minister when a roadshow happened and the Ram temple was consecrated. Secularism, ladies and gentlemen, is alive and well in India. Secularism is alive in many, many ways. It is alive because, do you know who's the biggest landowner in India after the government of India? It is an organization called the Catholic Church of India.
Thank you, Hindol. Thank you very
Secularism
much
is alive.
for that. Thank you. So we've had two speakers speak both for and against the motion. This is where I go across for the first time to our jury to get them to give us some sense of how it's going. Aryama Sundaram, do you think your wards are doing a good job? What would you tell them?
Well, I think it's very determined, whatever each one is saying. They feel they're right. As far as I'm concerned, I'd like to hear what they really think secularism ought to be in India.
He wants to hear, go deeper. Swapanda, going well, not going well? What are you liking, not liking?
It's quite fascinating. It's quite rhetorical, quite interesting. I have a few questions which I'd like to ask. Maybe I'll ask it later, but just for 1 minute. When did India become secular? Was it India always secular? or did it become secular only in 1950 or maybe in 76, the 42nd Amendment? Second question, I'm a bit intrigued when he said, I think it was Riju who pointed out one nation, one language. He also mentioned one food. What is this one food we're talking about?
As long as you guys have some food on your plate, right? That's all that matters. Deepak, how's it going?
I think it's going fine. It would have been a little more appropriate if people had gone into the fact that secularism is always going to be a difficult concept in a deeply religious country like India. And therefore, how do you handle it? So I think a little more background would have been advisable.
Interesting. So thank you for your first comments. I just want to tell everyone as you're busy eating, remember you have to vote after this. You have this